Diary, definitely a show that comes to you every Tuesday at exactly 8 p.m. Remember, today the world was marking International Day of Forest, and definitely it is an event that Kenya was a part of, and we'll just be delving further into that to understand why exactly this particular day is marked. And on show this evening, I am privileged to be joined by Honorable Ephantus Kimuthoo, who is the PS Forestry, that is in the Ministry of Environment, Climate Change and Forestry. Karibu sana.
Thank you. Thank you.
I can see that you are in uniform, sir. It says a lot, of course, about the day, about the International Day of Forestry.
Yeah, true. We just come from Kiriraita Forest, where we launched our 16 million tree to be planted in the next 60 days during this rainy season. Yeah.
Okay, and that's definitely something that we will be focusing on in a bit. But before we just get the conversation going, remember you can always be part of this conversation by engaging us on social media. That's on Facebook as well as YouTube, that is KAK TV Kenya. You can also do that via our SMS number, that is 0111 220044. As mentioned today, the world was marking International Day of Forestry, and we'll just get to listen to what exactly the day is all about. And let us now listen to that particular bite by my guest this evening. If we can just play that bite to help you understand why exactly this particular day is marked, then we will be right back to delve further into this conversation.
And the day is celebrating the importance of forest, the various forests we have in the world, and also it's a day whereby we're able to remind people of the importance to protect, to conserve and use our forest in a sustainable manner. Na kwa wakati huu tuna mbegu karibu 120 metric tons ambayo inaweza raise almost 2 billion seedlings, na kwa mpango ya serikali between 2022 na 2032 KEFRI inatakiwa kutoa mbegu tani 1,000. Sio mmoja katika sehemu zingine ya Northern Kenya hakijapata mvua for the last 4 years. And this na hii upande huo wa Kenya itatoa miti au itatakiwa contribute to almost 70% of the 15 billion. So hiyo imetusumbua sana, na saa hii mvua imeanza kukuja, ndio tunaanza kusambaza mbegu ili waanze kukuza miche. We are having exotic trees. Sometimes we plant them together with the crops in a system we call the PELIS. Is basically an agroforestry system. It's basically an intercropping system where there is an interaction between the trees, the rooting system of trees and our crops, whereby both benefit. There is a symbiotic relationship between tree species and crop species for the benefit.
Well, those are just a number of officers, or let me say stakeholders in the Ministry of Health. That was just a sneak peek of what exactly we are going to discuss in this particular conversation. Just to remind you that my guest this evening is Honorable Ephantus Kimuthoo, who is the Principal Secretary in the State Department of Forestry. Definitely, that's in the Ministry of Environment, Climate Change and Forestry. Once again, thank you, and it's actually a pleasure to have you this evening. From what we've listened to, just help us in understanding first, what exactly is the importance of International Day of Forestry?
International Day of Forestry, today actually we marked the 11th International Day of Forest. It's a day that is set aside to create awareness of the importance of all type of forest in the world. It's also a day that is meant to create awareness on the importance of protecting our forests, conserving our forests, and using where we have to our forests sustainably. Yeah.
Okay, so by conserving, you're talking of conserving, and you also mentioned there that it is also a day to learn on how to use trees in a sustainable manner. What exactly does that mean?
This year, we come to the reality that trees and forests contribute, they are one of the biggest contributors to our economic development. So even in agriculture, in the building industry, also in the energy sector. But when we mean sustainably, this is where we talk about you harvest a tree, you harvest one tree today, but you plant 3 more. That way, it means the tree you harvested tomorrow, there'll be another tree to replace the same. But if we continue harvesting without replanting the same, then that is what leads to land degradation, which eventually it will mean tomorrow we'll have nothing to harvest. So that's what we mean, getting trees and using them sustainably. Also, the sustainability also talks to how you end up using the same tree. An example is when we used to, because we're also trying to do decriminalization of charcoal burning. We're also saying we want to do that, but as we open up that, we want to target the prosopis, which is the madenge tree, the invasive tree. But you're saying it's good for us to harvest, but in a sustainable, produce charcoal, but in a sustainable manner. This year we talk about, instead of using the old methods of burning charcoal, whereby one tree would end up giving you probably 10% of charcoal. Then the same charcoal, you realize you use it, you use a jiko that is not efficient. Again, you end up getting only 1% of energy. So that means cutting one whole tree to burn it to charcoal, you end up getting only 1% of energy. But if you use a sustainable method, that is, use like a clean machines which are they are producing, but they are verified by Kefri or one of our institute, you find the same one tree will give you 30% of charcoal, just by how you are producing it, how you are manufacturing the charcoal. Then if you use an energy saving jiko, which is an energy saving jiko, the same 30% of charcoal that you've gotten, you might end up saving 50%. So that you end up with 15% of energy from one tree. So what that means is, instead of a situation whereby you'd have one tree would have given you, whereby instead of cutting 15 trees, using one tree but in a sustainable way, you end up saving 14 trees. So that's what we mean by sustainability.
All right, thank you so much for that. We'll now just get into the conversation of the day. That one we were just looking at the International Day of Forestry. Before now we get to the tree planting agenda, let me just look at now the theme for International Day of Forestry. We were looking at forests and health. How exactly would you say forests now link to the well-being of human beings?
Yeah, you realize we've actually, in the last couple of months, we've quite a number of people have been exposed to hunger. We also realize quite a number of livestock have died. We're talking about 4.3 million people exposed to hunger. We're talking about over 2.5 million livestock that we've lost. All these now are things which are making Kenyans now be more realistic on the importance of trees. And that goes a long way to speak about, even above talking about the food security, it also speaks to health. Most of the trees, a number of the trees that we have are used for medicinal benefits. So people are coming to appreciate the importance of trees in very many other ways. You talk about pollution, the same trees, in an environment, when you plant trees are able to absorb carbon in the air. And that's why you find people, even during COVID, people who are living near forest did not need to wear masks because the environment they were in was clean. So that's how you find forests are connected to health.
All right, thank you so much for that. Now, remember, you can be part of this particular conversation by sending in an SMS, whether there is something that you want to know or a comment. That is via our SMS number 0111 22 0044. Remember, we are also coming to you live. That's on Facebook as well as YouTube. That's KAK TV Kenya. Now, on tonight's conversation, we are looking at the tree planting agenda. We'll first start by listening to what exactly President William Ruto mentioned. That's sometime last year, around December 12th, when the country was marking the Jamhuri Day celebrations. Remember, we are looking at the tree planting agenda, definitely just focusing on the Kenya Kwanza's government, 15 billion trees, or planting 15 billion trees by the year 2032. Let us listen to what exactly the president said in regards to that.
Under our program on managing climate change, we will ensure that we build our 15 billion tree cover to be planted around the country we will build it from the bottom up. The Ministry of Interior has the instructions to start with the Nyumba Kumi leaders, 45,000 of them coming to the 9,000 assistant chiefs and 4,000 chiefs to ensure that we build from the bottom going up our tree planting exercise to ensure that we reach the 15 billion trees planted across the country. And I want to thank the Governor of Nairobi. We are going to be working with the county government of Nairobi in the greening of our city. And we have agreed with the Governor that beginning January, we are going to hire 11,000 young people to create the army that will green our city, those that were working under the old program of Kazi Mtaani.
All right, so that's the president speaking sometime last year when he launched the 15 billion trees, actually not planting but growing 15 billion trees by the year 2032. Now, PS, where exactly are we as far as it's been quite a number of months? The president has talked of taking it from the bottom up, engaging youths, engaging chiefs. Where exactly are we in terms of just attaining this vision?
Okay, thank you for that question. So with the 15 billion, the target is to do 5 billion in the first 5 years.
Yeah.
Then the target, then we do another 10 billion in the next 10 years. So as we talk currently, as you heard me say, today we've launched 16 million. We are planning to plant 1 million trees a day in the next 60 days. But even before that, a couple of, we've also planted quite a number of trees. Yeah. We launched this program immediately after. That was, I think, His Excellency the President mentioned that 12th of December, Jamhuri Day. On 21st of December, we launched, that's the first time we actually initially launched the program. Yeah. And we launched it by planting 560,000 trees. But we had a challenge of the rains, because the rains have just started. So what we've been doing initial preparations. We've been doing the preparations. So far, the first thing that we've started with, we ensure that we have enough. We wanted to ensure we have enough seedlings. And by so doing, we've invested a lot in KEFRI. KEFRI is one of the institutions that produces seeds. As we talk today, KEFRI have over 2 billion seeds which are ready to be promulgated to become seedlings. So what you're doing now, we are actually distributing the same to schools. We've identified over 20,000 schools, and each one of them we are targeting to give them 10,000 seeds, which will translate to 200 million seedlings. So that means in the next 10 years, from the school's perspective alone, we'll be able to generate 2 billion seedlings. Because, you know, before we talk about the trees, you need to understand the element of where we're going to get the seedlings. Yeah. Then when you talk about the chief camps, we've identified 8,000 through in collaboration, the schools are doing in collaboration with the Ministry of Education. The chief camps in the collaboration with the Ministry of Interior, we identified 8,000 again, chief camps. Why I'm saying 8,000, these are the ones, there may be more. You had His Excellency the President say 9,000 plus 4,500, but the ones we have identified are the ones who have water, and they also have an area for protection, they have enough space. So that's why we've come up with 8,000. Even schools, we have over 40,000, but we've only identified 20,000. The ones which have water, and they have an area which is protected, and also they have sufficient land. So for the chief, the same thing. We are, each camp is supposed to, we are engaging them to plant seedlings, 10,000 each. So that gives you around 10,000 times 8,000. That gives you again per year. We are talking about 80 million seedlings. So in the whole 10 years, we're talking about 800 million seedlings. So already that can tell you the potential of that. Then we have many other institutions like regional development authorities, which are also involved with the same. So in terms of seedling propagation, we have actually surpassed even our target. But now in terms of the seedling production, in our institution, KFS, we had around 30 million from the private sector, that is the registered youths. We have around 34 million. So in total, We had in KFS, we have Kenya Forest Service, which is one of the institutions, SAGAs and us. We have 32, and the outside we had 34. So in total, we have a total of 66 million. But we have a number of them which are being propagated. Not really. The ones which are did like today is around 66 million. But we have a number which are being propagated. But even all the ones I've mentioned that we've already started the initiatives, in the next period of 6 months, we'll have quite a number. So I can say we are the fact that we're not even 6 months. We are doing well in seeding propagation and also the seeding. Then also, the other thing that we've done, more important, is that we've also established a number of relationships. Today, as I come here, I've come from Nakuru. We are going to meet all the MDAs, that is the ministry, all the parastatals under the state departments. I met 349 parastatals, and we had a very good agreement with them. Most of them have hidden to the call of His Excellency the President to come and be part and parcel of this big agenda of 15 billion because of what it is addressing. As you heard the President say, this is one way of mitigating against climate change. This is one way of dealing with biodiversity loss, which has been these are the three triple challenges of the whole world. I mean, the issue of climate change, the issue of biodiversity loss, and the issue of land degradation. So when people get to understand the importance of and how these trees we are planting can help and can mitigate against all these things, it becomes very easy. So today, as I talk, we can say confidently that at least we've gotten commitment of 1 billion trees to be planted by all the government parastatals. So that tells you already, out of the 15 billion, 1 billion is gone. Yeah.
All right, and you're talking of billions and millions, and you've also mentioned quite a very important aspect there of ensuring that these members of the society are also understanding what exactly they are doing. And the First Lady and the President have always as well talked of growing a tree and not necessarily planting a tree. As a ministry, how would you say you're also creating awareness to these people? Because when you're talking of seedlings, how do you create awareness to these people so that they understand that these seedlings are supposed to be grown in this particular area and not this other area?
Okay. Thank you for that. We actually have launched an app called Jazamiti app.
Okay.
That app has several features. One feature which is important is documenting. Whenever you plant a tree, and you can use that app, take a photo, and you document the tree. Then later, we'll have a green ambassador who will come and confirm and verify whether the tree is growing and that kind of a thing. But more important, that same app has something we're calling site species matching, whereby if you are in a particular area, for example in Kiambu where we are today, you'd log into that app and it will give you a list. So the app is an IT combined with the science to give you all the number of trees you may wish to plant in that area. This helps in increasing survival, because you may go and get a tree, you like it, but probably you plant it in a place that we don't have the right soil. So based on the science, all the science that we've had, which has been done by KEFRI over the last 40 years, has not been documented into an app. So I would even encourage you to download that app. It's in the Play Store. It's called Jazamiti app. When you go to that Jazamiti app, even in this area, it will show you which tree can grow in this area, because it is scientifically developed. Yeah, that's an app that is going to help. We launched it in December 21st now, and we're encouraging people to download that app even as they engage in the activities of planting trees, because that way it will enhance survival rate to increase. Yeah. Okay,
and now what impact would you say these 15 billion trees will have in terms of just combating, let me say, climate change or the climate crisis that we are currently facing? Because we have had other leaders talk of this. We had COP27, we had COP26, and leaders, of course, are promised and talked over what they will do as a country. So what impact as well as follow-up, just to ensure that when these 15 billion trees are planted, this is the impact that this will have on the environment?
If we first to tell about the 15 billion, the 15 billion tree, we intend to plant, for us to plant the 15 billion tree, we need to restore 10.6 million hectares. And that is where we plant the 15 billion tree. And this 15 billion tree, 3%, which is 350,000 hectares, is within the gazetted forest, which we already know very well. And I think the importance of the gazetted forests, which have been the key source, especially the 7 big water towers. They've been the key source of the water we all drink. Even the water we are drinking here in Nairobi from Dakaini, it comes all the way from our forest down there. So I think the gazetted forest and the importance, then what they've always done to the country cannot be right, because all the water we drink comes from, that's the case, that's one of the key sources. But over and above that, the gazetted forest, in our aspiration to do the 15 billion tree, we'll go outside the gazetted forest. We'll also target the farmlands, which we have put a target of around 2 million hectares to restore around 2.8 billion trees. Here, you're talking about the impact again. I'll give you a very simple example. There's a project which was in Murang'a, which was done by one of the development partners. That project was, the aim of the project was to do conservation, whereby the people in the upstream were actually, the people in the upstream, you have the people in the upstream and the lower stream. The people in the upstream, if they don't participate in the conservation activities, like doing things like check dams, doing like terraces. Remember I used to do terraces, momonyoko udongo, to help those things. When they don't do that, water just flows together with soil, does a lot of soil degradation, and that, for example, who have dams, that water ends up with the dam with a lot of siltation. But when they do some conservation element, then you're able to reduce the siltation of the water. So the people in the downstream get more water and water without silt. So in that project, just show you the impact of trees. In that particular project, any farmer in their farmlands who accepted to engage into conservation activities was given several number of trees. So by that project, we ended, the company, the development partner who was doing it, ended up distributing over 1 million trees. Which is then the tree was being bought at 100. So they ended up investing 100 million shillings to buy 1 million trees over a period of time. As a result of that, today as we talk, the farmers are generating over 5 billion from the proceeds of the same trees. These are avocado trees. So that can just tell you the impact of fruit trees. So from an investment of 100 million to now generating over 5 billion. So, but of course the first initial objective was conservation. So trees have a lot of benefits. Trees actually have a much higher return than the food production. It's only that trees need a lot of patience, because it will take you like 10 years, but the benefits cannot be underrated. There is the conservation benefits, and also there is a commercial benefit that comes with the trees. So the other area that we are trying to restore, no, I just told you about importance of trees in the gazetted forest. I told you about importance of trees in the farmlands, whereby farmers are can make it will improve their livelihoods. Then the other area is ASALs. These are arid and semi-arid areas. Here we have a potential. We've targeted around 6.9 million hectares. Again, in the ASALs, I'm sure you've been to these areas in the ASAL. We have around 20 counties in the ASALs. The dry land, a lot of poverty. Mostly there we find livestock issues. So again, what are the benefits that will come to them? As I said, we've just suffered over 2.5 million livestock have died. So again, in the ASALs, if you do the plantation, if you engage into activities through the trees, like for example, gum arabica. Gum arabica is a very good. You go to a neighboring country here in Southern Sudan, they're the biggest exporter of gum arabica. There's what is called resins. Resins that come from the gum arabica tree. So that alone, if we invested in such trees there, which are good trees because you don't harvest them, we just harvest them, leaving the tree. If we invested in that, that will have a very big impact in changing the economic lives. Apart from also the conservation activity, it will also change the economic lives of the people in the ASALs. So ASALs no belong an ASAL when we get into involvement in the plantation of trees. So the trees have a very huge impact. So the 15 billion, by the time we achieve it, this will be a total game changer for the country. Both in terms of conservation, we'll have reduced our NDC, our global commitment. We'll have adhered to our global commitment. We'll have conserved our environment, and we cannot underestimate the livelihood improvement that we'll have done because of the just planting those trees.
Okay, such a promising future, as you put it. And there is something that I'll just want the audience to understand, probably just from where you sit, the issue of tree cover and forest cover. Where would you say, first of all, the difference between the two and where we stand as a country?
Okay, forest cover is, you're talking about a canopy. you see canopy, the way you see go to a forest, for trees which are together all together and run for like a kilometer. That's when you say that's a forest. But now you can have your farm. You plant a tree here. After 2 meters, another tree like that. That's now we talk about the tree cover. But tree cover now includes even the forest. So we take the forest, plus all the trees planted in the farmlands. So forest cover mainly is where we have that canopy. You can have a forest cover in your land. If in my land I have a congregation of trees and there is a canopy, I have a woodlot, then I can say I have a forest. That can be counted as part of a forest. But if the trees are spread, whereby we're encouraging agroforestry, in the farmlands, we encourage agroforestry because of the livelihood. Because you plant trees, unless you have a lot of money to wait for a number of years for you to get your proceeds. That's when you can say you can encourage someone to plant trees, but mostly we encourage people to plant trees and together with the agricultural produce, so that you can still get agricultural produce today as you wait for the longer benefits of the tree. So that's the difference of a tree cover. There is a single individual trees, forest cover. So in terms of current, we a tree cover, we are at 12. We are at 12% when it comes to the tree cover, and that's now what we are. And the 12% consists of around 7.2 million hectares. That's why now we are trying to attempt to get to 30%, which is what I'm saying will cover around 10.6 million hectares. Yeah.
All right, thank you so much for that. We will be taking a very short break. Definitely when we come back, we'll just be looking at mitigations as far as the drought situation is concerned. But before we take that very short break, let us just look at these statistics. Remember, the PS has just mentioned over the forest cover as well as the tree cover, and I hope that you at home has been able to understand that. Let us start just by looking the affected counties as far as the issues of drought and hunger is concerned. So we are looking at counties like Kilifi, Mandera County, Marsabit, Samburu, Turkana, Wajir, Isiolo, Kitui, Kajiado, Garissa, Lamu, Narok, Tana River, Makueni, Tharaka Nithi, Baringo, Laikipia, Meru, Taita Taveta, West Pokot, Nyeri, as well as Kwale County. And just looking at out of the 23 counties that I have mentioned, more than 4.4 million people are currently facing acute food insecurity and consequently requiring humanitarian assistance. And that's exactly the statistics that you can see right there on your screen. So out of the 23 counties that we have mentioned, more than 4.4 million people are facing acute food insecurity and consequently requiring humanitarian assistance. And that is just one of the things that we have seen the government do in terms of distributing foods to the affected counties. And now just looking at on issues to do with nutrition or the health bit of that, over 970,000 children aged 6 to 59 months and 142,000 pregnant and breastfeeding mothers are currently malnourished. So that is over 970,000 children aged 6 to 59 months and 142,000 pregnant and breastfeeding mothers are currently malnourished. So that's where we leave it at that. Definitely when we come back, we'll just be looking at the issues of a drought in the different counties, as well as ways to mitigate these particular adverse effects of climate change. So we take a very short break, but just to let you know, if you have any question or comment, feel free to do that via our SMS number 0111 22 0044 or Facebook, that is KAK TV Kenya on Facebook and YouTube.
Greetings to all of you who watch Kirk TV programs. I send you Christian love and peace from all the Kirk family and the entire ministry. Since God gave us this Kirk TV, which is a very competent means of reaching people in and outside Kenya, Kirk TV is undoubtedly giving good and effective services to many people wherever our signal reaches. It is evident that God is at work through Kirk TV. We therefore need your loving support through your continuous prayers. We also appeal passionately for your generous financial support to help us be on air as the Lord will require us to do and to be. Please plan to give regularly. Please give occasionally, or you can begin to give a one-time gift. The scripture is right that you will be made rich in every way so that you can be generous on every occasion, and your generosity will result in thanksgiving to God. Please respond to this genuine, urgent appeal. Kindly be a Kirk TV partner. May God bless you abundantly as we join hands to do this good work.
To partner with us, send your financial support to paybill number 401-9613, account partner. Paybill number 401-9613, account partner.
Well, welcome back. This is Eco's Diary, a show that comes to you every Tuesday at exactly 8 p.m. And on this particular episode, I'm privileged to be joined by Honorable Ephantus Kimotho, who is the Principal Secretary Forestry, that's in the Ministry of Environment, Climate Change and Forestry. Thank you so much for your comments. That's via Facebook. I'll just read a few of them right here. Atieno says, very impressive, Honorable Kimani Kimotho. A great mind indeed. We greatly love and support this good cause, tree planting challenge. Thank you so much, Atieno, for that. I see Boniface says Jaza Miti app. That's the app that you're just talking about. And Gitonga says the app is perfect. And I see Ojal here saying lazima tujaze miti, kwanza hiyo commercial tree planting has just motivated me more. Thank you so much for making this conversation interactive. If you're just joining us, remember today the world is marking International Day of Forestry under the theme Forests and Health, just trying to link that is matters to do with the environment, definitely, and health, as we also try and focus on how important trees can be, not just to the environment, but to our health and well-being as well. So earlier on, we just looked at the importance of trees, definitely just focusing on the tree planting agenda right here. But now let us look at the situation in the country, and PSL just try to engage you on what exactly happened today. That is planting 60 million trees that's during this particular rainy season. How do you think Kenyans can go about that?
Yeah, okay. It's a call to action. That first, when people understand the effect, and I think now it's becoming easier because after we've seen people suffer from especially the livestock. Before it was hard to engage some of the communities when it comes to issue of planting trees, because like for example, I'll tell you, goats are actually one of the biggest determinant towards the issue of trees because of the grazing. So now it becomes easier when we come up with livestock improvement systems, whereby you realize that probably one goat, when it's grazing, it'll when it's not confined, when it's confined in an area, it will basically just need half an acre. When you have fodder, you create fodder, you just need half an acre. But when it's just going around, the same needs like almost 11 acres. So that now becomes a deterrent towards the tree growing, which again has several effects that we've talked about. So, but when we come with some livelihood improvement programs and our livestock management systems, whereby maybe we do a dam, and after that we create some fodder, we're able to convince the communities not to graze in all the land. That by so doing, for example, if you have 100 acres, you can have 50 acres just fenced by the community forest, leave it to automatically regenerate. Still, a season like this when it's raining, when you just leave land for 1 year, 2 years, the trees will automatically regenerate. And of course, the effect of the trees is what will also part of what is why we find the human activities and the lifestyle activities is what has led us to us getting to that situation of drought and the climate change effects. So the drought season has led to now people understanding better the effects of not having trees around. So it's becoming easier for us to engage them. So our part now is more to keep on doing civic education, educate them the importance of the trees, and some of them understanding. So, and that way it will become easier for us it becomes easier for people to even automatically start planting trees. During the COVID season also, you realize it was people moved away from town and went back to, of course, some of them went back to rural areas because of them probably it was a better place to stay because there were not limitations. People were living in apartments. Remember initially when COVID just started, you could not even hold the rails of staircase and everything. So people went back to the rural. But when most of the people who went back to the rural areas, even after COVID, they never came back because they realized how it is, how they realized what they were missing, that fresh air, that everything that comes with trees. So people, they have come to understand the importance of trees. So telling people to plant trees is not something easy. Today alone, the State Department of Prisons, Correctional Services, they also launched a program of 10 million, which and many more are being launched every other day. So planting that. So ours is just to make sure that we are coordinating all of them. We are providing the technical support, and we are also advising them on the site species matching, and at the same time we are also monitoring the trees, and monitoring the whole planting element, which also by monitoring also and using that as a media app I talked about earlier. It will help them because we're also talking about we are currently trying to come up with a carbon credit framework, which eventually will lead to members of public who are participating in the plantation of trees benefiting towards the same, probably in the next 2-3 years.
Right, and before we just focus on the issue of drought in the country, Mbuki has a question right here. He's asking, does fruit trees like avocados, mangoes, trees, etc. add up to the trees or forest cover in the country? What does farmers need to enhance to increase forest or tree cover? If all religious people each plant like 10 trees, we shall have like 40 million by 50 trees. That is 2 billion trees. So his question is, does fruit like trees, avocados also contribute to the tree and forest cover in the country?
Yeah, actually, fruit tree, an avocado tree is a tree. Fruit trees are also trees. We have indigenous trees, we have exotic trees, and we have fruit trees. In our strategy, we are actually encouraging 65%. We are focusing on the conservation, the indigenous trees, but 35% we are focusing on fruit trees and commercial forestry. So they actually, it's true, they do contribute. And that's what we are targeting to plant in the farmlands. Farmlands, these are the land owned by the farmers, because we also want to know that they will not just plant without a motivation. They want something that will motivate them. But also, we're saying it's good to not to do a monopolization of trees. They also need to mix. So don't plant all fruit trees. They also need to have a little bit of some indigenous trees also.
Right, and let us now just go to the drought situation in the country. We've seen areas or counties like Embu, Meru, Nyeri, Tharaka Nithi, counties that were previously not being affected by drought, being affected right now. And just according to the statistics that we looked at earlier, more than 23 counties are being affected currently by drought. Where do you think we as Kenyans or we as human beings went wrong in terms of just contributing to this?
I think it all starts with management of, how we've been managing our forests actually has been a big challenge. Like I'm saying, without considering the sustainability. As I said, forests contribute a lot towards our economic development, economic activities, social activities, and as the population kept on increasing, and we are not increasing our land, we still have the same land. And there's been a lot of competition of the usage of land, also the forest. Because as the population increases, it means people need more food. People need more sources of energy. Like, 70% of Kenyans still use either charcoal or firewood. So that means the more the population grows, the more the demand for the product in the forest. And the same thing, people also want more land for agriculture, because you find even the forest land at times people encroach more in the forest, keep on encroaching more in the forest in search of food. Also, you're talking about real estate. As population grows, people want more space for there's competition for land. So as a result of that, you find so that there was so much pressure. But right now, even as the UN the global environment has come and made a declaration that 2021-2030 is going to be the way we do the time we did millennium, whereby it was about computerization, it was about moving to millennium goals. Now it's about ecological restoration. We are saying unless we do something, this is the biggest disaster that has ever happened. What has happened? This is the biggest. So, but we have an opportunity of reversing the effects which have been there, because the things we just say, the drought has come because of our human activities. Yes, there's a climate change element which has been because of the manufacturing and everything and the pollution, but also there's also the human activities which have been driven by what I've just said, increasing population. So we need to have a conversation among ourselves and ask ourselves, how can we live with forests and at the same time use them sustainably? And that's why now we must adopt technologies. We must adopt technologies, and we must also ensure that we train our kids, even as small as they are in the schools. We need to introduce the 4K clubs, we need to introduce the environmental clubs, so people can understand the importance of forest. The more you understand, the better you understand, the more you're going to conserve.
Okay, and earlier on you spoke of targeting 6.9 million trees, planting 6.9 million trees in the ASAL regions. And these are areas probably that have really been affected by drought. How exactly do you intend to make that sustainable, so that we are not just doing that during the rainy seasons? Remember, these areas, when the rainy season, let me say, progresses, they still face floods. So how exactly are we going to ensure sustainability of a tree planting in the ASAL areas?
Actually, in the ASAL, I said I want to restore 6.9 million hectares.
Okay.
But in terms of trees, we want to plant 9 billion.
9 billion.
So it's actually even a much higher target, but 6 million hectares. But now, and this is where our institution called KEFRI comes in. KEFRI has been doing a lot of research. Kenya KEFRI has been doing a lot of research. I'll take up an ASAL area like Taita Taveta or Kitui, where we have a resource center and we've done some demonstration farms. Kitui, we've identified this tree called Melia. Melia is a very good tree, and it is drought resistant. When we drought resistant, when it's not raining, what it does, it sheds all the leaves.
Okay.
So it doesn't need, it requires very little water or no water. So when the rain comes, then it does back the trees. So meaning now it's water resistant. So we've come up with some species which are water resistant. Yeah. So the only thing they need is protection. Yeah.
Okay, great. And now, just as we wind up, we have very few minutes remaining. How would you say the country or even the ministry, among other stakeholders, will go beyond days like this, like International Day of Forestry? Frankly speaking, just between or within this phase, I've seen more people just planting trees just compared to the previous times. So how do we ensure that we go beyond such days just to help in attaining this particular target of 15 billion trees?
Okay, that's a good question. So as a State Department, we actually, this is like every other day in a week we have like 3 events. So it's only that today it was being International Forest Day of Forest. It was a little bit publicized, but we actually do every other 3 days. We are doing an event, a planting. But the planting, especially within our stations, this is a normal activity when the rains start. We have a whole plan. Like when we talk about the 60 million, we have a whole plan on what would be happening in each and every day and in each and every station. Now the only thing we are doing is to try and encourage the other partners we are trying to bring on board. That is the other private sector, the private sector people who are joining in. There are quite a number of them who are joining in under something you're calling Adopt a Forest. They're saying yes, we are not big emitters, but the fact that we also are targeting to achieve net zero, because even if, for example, even this CAC TV here, you may not be really polluting, but you find probably you're driving a car, your car is polluting out there. So at least to show that you're also trying to achieve net zero and support this sustainability, they're coming up with a program to Adopt a Forest. So there's that initiative. So we have quite a number of private sectors. So anytime they want to adopt a forest, we give them the technical support. So we don't necessarily plant trees only on the when you have these international days. Also, we've been encouraging people to plant trees during their birthdays. So we've been having a lot of activities when people are having their birthdays. So the activities have been going on. It's only that now this time around we'll enhance them more because now we have the rainy season. But also we have other activities that you're also doing. You're also engaging the Green Army. Green Army is these are some of the youths. We're also engaging them to help us in the plantation of trees, but also to help us in conservation of water by creating helping people come up with water pans so that we can try and harvest water. Some of the water so that we can have at least another extended period of maybe 3, 4, 5 months, even after the rains have gone.
All right, great. So you've just mentioned of the private sector. Earlier on, you mentioned of schools. We looked at the chiefs as well. Let me just ask, how do you think we can now bring in religious institutions, definitely like CAC TV, like the PCA Church? How do we bring these institutions now into just assisting the government attain this particular vision?
Okay. The good thing, we've actually engaged in some of them. We've engaged the Catholics, and we have a very good program. Actually, have a good collaboration with them. Through their schools, through their churches. Also, the PCA, we're also engaging them, and we actually trying to encourage them. Like for example, PCA, a good example is, I think you remember, you have PCA has around 4.5 million members, which you can call them 5 million members. So like during this rainy season, if you just said each member to plant at least 2 trees, that means PCA by itself will have 10 million. So we'll be talking to your leadership and seeing whether we can convince them to get a day that we can say, let's mobilize our members and plant at least 2 trees each. So that means within a day, PCA fraternity alone can mobilize and plant 10 million. That will go a long way towards helping towards this issue of combating climate change effects.
All right, thank you so much for that. Now, on just that particular note, in terms or on matters planting a tree, let us just listen in to this, a very short bite where the president was just talking about the importance of planting trees, even that one tree.
And most critical step in our journey towards ecological restoration, resilience enhancement, and sustainable development. Planting a tree should be the most urgent task for each one of us today and every other day. Planting trees has to be the project of the highest importance every day throughout the rainy season and for the rest of our lives. To change the world today, plant a tree, then do it again, and again, and again. There is no need to stop because there will never be a time in our life when trees do not make sense or matter. Again,
All right, that is President William Ruto just talking of the importance of planting even a single tree. And we'll just be listening to the PS's final word even as we end this night's conversation. But let me just read one of a comment right here via our SMS number. You're talking of great and nice to see you, PS. Keep up the good work. That is Kimani Jr. All right, so as we end this particular conversation, and if you just joining us, just to let you know that we were looking at the tree planting agenda, just focusing on the vision or the goal of planting or growing the 15 billion trees in the country, that is by the year 2032. We have looked at the International Day of Forestry, and we have also looked at the drought situation in the country, with the PS just helping us understand how exactly we can mitigate this, of course, by doing that sustainably. So PS, just looking at that particular camera, probably just your final words, even as we end the conversation.
Yeah, thank you. Planting of a tree is I would say is one of the most important thing one can do at the moment to help us in combating climate change, to help us in mitigating biodiversity loss, to help us in land degradation. So I would urge each one and every of the Kenyan to actually embark in this. It helps us. You can Kenyans would appreciate and see the fact that when we plant a tree, all of us, the air we breathe, we are breathing that air because of the trees that we've planted. And so it's a very, very important. The water that we all drink, we have that water because of the trees that we've all planted. So to combat the effect of the climate change, the effect of drought that we've experienced, I would urge each and every Kenyan, just as His Excellency the President has always urged people, let us ensure we plant at least a minimum of 30 trees on your birthday. That way, if all Kenyans, we planted 300 trees, the 15 billion tree will be achievable. So it's possible, it can be done, and I think it should be done. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much as well. Thank you for your time, and thank you for sharing that very critical information with our audience. Definitely you are the expert in this area, and I'm sure our audience appreciate and they've learned a lot.
Thank you too.
All right, so we leave it at that this evening. Remember, this is Ecos Diary, a show that comes to you each and every Tuesday live at exactly 8 p.m. My name is Aida Muzatsi. Thank you so much for tuning in. And if you're just joining us, remember, you can always find this particular recording on our social media pages. That's on Facebook as well as YouTube. Thank you for tuning in.